And so we settle in. You can feel your body beginning to grow heavy in the most pleasant way. In our time together tonight, there is nothing to examine, nothing to understand, only the gentle rhythm of a story. A story of a life that is about to become sacred in the very heart of the Aztec world. Before we drift too far, if you feel a connection to this place, you're welcome to leave a quiet like or subscribe. Think of it not as a task, but as leaving a soft footprint in the sand before you continue your journey inward. And perhaps if you feel so inclined, you might leave a quiet comment letting me know in what city or town you are listening tonight, and what time the clock shows on your wall. Alright, let the shadows in your room grow long and soft. Maybe you can hear the faint sound of your own breathing. And together, let's allow the story to begin. The first thing you notice is not a sound but a scent. A deep, rich fragrance of flowers you can't name, mixed with the clean, earthy smell of damp stone and something sweet, like burning resin. It's this scent that pulls you up from the depths of a heavy, dreamless sleep. Your eyelids feel weighted, but you slowly peel them open. This is not the rough, dusty floor of a captive cell. This is not the grim reality you were expecting. You are lying on a pallet of unbelievably soft cotton, woven so thickly it feels like a cloud. Above you, there is no stone ceiling, but a canopy of intricate feather work, greens and blues and brilliant reds stitched together into the image of a sky you've never seen. You push yourself up slowly, your muscles aching with a memory of struggle that feels distant now, like a story told about someone else. The air in the chamber is cool and still. Light, hazy and golden, filters in from an open doorway, illuminating the polished lime plaster of the walls, which are painted with swirling, geometric patterns in dark red ochre. This makes no sense. The last memory you hold is different. It is noise and dust, and the hard reality of defeat. The clash of wood against wood, the shouts of men, the feeling of being overwhelmed, captured. You were a warrior from a rival city-state, taken in a flower war, one of those strange, ritualized conflicts designed for the sole purpose of taking captives for sacrifice. You knew your fate. A stone slab, a waiting priest, a brief and brutal end. You had prepared for it, as much as any man could. But this is a palace. This is a chamber fit for a noble, perhaps even a king. You stand up, your bare feet meeting the cool, smooth stone of the floor. You are alone. In the corner of the room, a clay basin is filled with fresh, clear water, with flower petals floating on its surface. Beside it, a soft cotton towel is neatly folded. This is, you have to admit, a significant upgrade from a prison cell. A very confusing upgrade. As you stand there trying to connect the memory of your capture with your current, luxurious reality, the figures appear in the doorway. They are not guards. They are attendants. Young men dressed in simple white loincloths, their hair tied back neatly. They move with a quiet, reverent grace, and most unnerving, they refuse to meet your eyes. They keep their gaze lowered, fixed on a point on the floor somewhere in front of you. One carries a small, steaming ceramic cup, and the other holds a simple wooden platter with slices of fruit and a kind of warm, flat corn cake. They approach you slowly, kneel, and place the offerings on the floor, before backing away with the same silent deference. The drink is warm and sweet, a thick, rich chocolate, unsweetened in the way you are used to, but spiced with chili and vanilla. It warms you from the inside out. You eat the fruit, feeling its cool juice soothe your dry throat. All the while, the attendants wait, silent and still. You try to speak to them, to ask the question that is screaming in your mind, where am I? What is this? But they offer no response. They simply bow their heads further, as if your voice itself is a powerful force they are unworthy of hearing directly. Historians, centuries from now, will debate this very moment. They will argue about what you must have been thinking. They will wonder about the psychological state of the Tezcatlipoca, the divine impersonator. Were you drugged with the gentle powders of the morning glory seed, keeping you in a state of calm confusion? Or was this disorientation purely the product of shock, of a fate sobers, or it was impossible to process? The truth is, you don't know yourself, adrift in a dream from which you expect to wake at any moment. After you have finished the small meal, One of the attendants approaches again. He holds a single perfect flower, a white datura, its trumpet-like bloom exuding a powerful, hypnotic scent. He does not expect you to put it in a vase. He simply holds it out, an invitation to lift it to your nose and breathe in its soul. It was a common custom for Aztec nobility to breathe flowers, to appreciate their scent as a fleeting gift from the gods. The world seems to soften at the edges even more. The attendant smiles, just a little, a brief flicker of human connection before his eyes are once again downcast. They leave you for a time. You are left to ponder the painted walls, the soft bed, the gentle scent of incense that now seems to be a permanent part of the air you breathe. This isn't an execution. This is an honor. But an honor for what? An honor that leads where? The silence of the room gives you no answers, but you have a sinking feeling, a deep and certain intuition, that the stone slab and the waiting priest are not off the table. They have just been postponed. For now, you are a guest, a fragile thing being kept perfect in a beautiful cage. And soon, they will come to dress you. The attendants return, their movements as fluid and silent as before. This time they are not empty-handed. They carry a large, shallow wooden chest between them, its surface carved with intricate symbols of serpents and stars. They set it down with a soft thud that seems to echo in the quiet room. Another follows, carrying a collection of clay pots and brushes on a woven tray. It seems the solitary time is over. It's time to get ready for, well, you're not quite sure what for. You get the distinct impression your opinion on the matter is not required. They approach you not as a person, but as a sacred statue that needs preparing. One begins by gently rubbing a fragrant oil into your skin. It smells of pine and sweet herbs, and it's surprisingly soothing. You stand there passive as they work. Their touch is respectful but impersonal, the way a craftsman might polish a fine piece of jade. It's a bizarre feeling to be handled with such care by people who seem to be doing everything in their power to pretend you don't really have a mind of your own. Then they open the chest. The contents seem to capture the morning light and hold it captive. Piles of gold ornaments, shimmering jade beads, and jewelry made from polished seashells that gleam with an iridescent pearly light. They work in tandem, are practiced in silent choreography. One lifts a heavy gold armband, intricately worked to look like the scales of a serpent, and slides it onto your upper arm. It's cool against your skin at first, then quickly warms, far heavier than you expected. They place another on your other arm. Then come the golden bands for your wrists and ankles, each one adding to the gentle, metallic weight that seems to be anchoring you to the floor. Next, they take out a wide collar, a breathtaking piece made of tiny, square-cut pieces of turquoise and shell, glued to a leather backing to form a mosaic of stunning geometric patterns. As they tie it around your neck, you feel its weight settle on your shoulders. It's like wearing a piece of the sky. This, you are beginning to realize, is not just clothing. This is a statement, a costume for a role you never auditioned for. The mainstream understanding of this process is that you are being dressed as a specific god, Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror, one of the most powerful and feared deities in their pantheon. Each piece of jewelry, each color, is a symbol, a piece of his story that you are now, quite literally embodying. One of the attendants opens the small clay pots. He dips a brush into a pot of thick, black soot and begins to paint your face. His touch is steady and light. He paints a black vertical stripe down from your forehead, over your eye and onto your cheek. Then another. He uses a different pot, this one filled with a vibrant yellow ochre, to paint horizontal bars across your nose and forehead. You have seen this pattern before, in codices and on temple walls. It is the face of a god, of sorcery, of destiny. And now it is your face. Here is a detail you might not appreciate at the moment, the adhesives. To affix some of the more delicate ornaments, like a small mosaic of feathers they want to place on your cheek, they don't just use simple tree sap. Aztec artisans were masters of glue. They had recipes for every occasion, some of which, scholars believe, involved mixing things like bat guano with certain plant extracts to create a surprisingly powerful and resilient adhesive. As the attendant dabs a sticky, pungent substance onto your skin, you can't help but wonder about its less than divine origins. It's one of those little details that punctures the grand, sacred illusion. Even gods, apparently, need a bit of batproof glue to keep themselves together. The final touches are the most spectacular. They bring forth a headdress, a magnificent fan of long, iridescent green tail feathers from the Quetzal bird. These feathers were more valuable than gold, a symbol of royalty and divinity. They are attached to a light framework that fits snugly on your head, and as they place it on you, the feathers cascade down your back, shimmering with every slight movement. You feel the gentle rustle as they settle. You must look terrifying, beautiful. Throughout this entire process, you remain silent. What is there to say? To protest would be pointless, like a stone complaining about being carved. To ask questions seems equally futile, as your attendants are masters of non-communication. Instead, you observe. You feel the increasing weight of your divine costume. The gold is a burden, the collar a yoke, the headdress a beautiful cage for your head. Historians still debate the very nature of this transformation. Was this seen as a purely symbolic act, dressing a man up like a god for a ceremony? Or did the Aztecs believe that through this ritual, you actually became Tezcatlipoca? That the god's essence, his Toxcatl, temporarily inhabited your body? The line between impersonation and incarnation was, for them, incredibly fine, perhaps non-existent. As you stand there, laden with the symbols of a deity, feeling the weight of it all, you wonder if you feel any different. You don't feel like a god. You feel like a man in a very heavy, very expensive costume who has completely lost control of his life. When they are finished, the attendants take a few steps back. For the first time, they lift their gaze slightly, not to your eyes, but to the overall effect. They look upon their work, this living idol they have constructed. There is a quiet satisfaction in their posture. They have prepared their god for his day, and now there is only one thing left to do. One of them moves to the wall and picks up a dark, circular object polished to a perfect glassy shine. It is time for you to meet yourself. The attendant approaches you with the object held carefully in both hands, its surface protected by a soft cotton cloth. He moves with a deliberate, almost ceremonial slowness. The air in the room, already still, seems to grow even quieter, charged with a strange expectancy. He stops a few paces in front of you and, with a final, reverent glance at the floor, he unveils it. It is a mirror, but not a mirror of silvered glass, a technology that doesn't exist in your world. Polished obsidian, a piece of volcanic glass, so black it seems to drink the light from the room. This is the smoking mirror. The Tezcatlipoca, the very namesake of the god you now represent. He holds it up to you, and you are forced to look. The reflection is dark, distorted, and deeply unsettling. The curved surface of the obsidian warps your image, making your features ripple and swim, as if underwater. The face that stares back is not your own. It is a terrifying mask of black and yellow stripes, a stranger's face crowned with an impossible halo of shimmering green feathers. The eyes in the reflection, your eyes seem lost in the divine costume, small and darkened, almost unrecognizable. You see the weight of the turquoise collar, the heavy gleam of the golden armbands. You look less like a man and more like an idol, something carved from stone and wood, brought to life by some unknowable magic. The obsidian itself seems to be part of the illusion. Its dark, smoky surface isn't clear. It clouds the reflection, making it seem as though a mist or a dark smoke is constantly swirling across your image. It's a powerful, disorienting effect. You are looking at yourself, but all you see is a god, and not a kind, benevolent one. Tezcatlipoca was a god of chaos, of conflict, of fate and sorcery, a trickster god. And as you gaze into the dark mirror, you can't help but feel like the butt of his greatest, cruelest joke. You lower your gaze from the mirror, but the attendant continues to hold it, as if it's important for you to fully absorb this new identity. This moment is a core part of the ritual. You are not just being shown your reflection, you are being formally introduced to your new self, the divine shell you will inhabit for the coming year. It is a psychological turning point. The man you were, the warrior from a rival city, is supposed to get lost in that smoky reflection, replaced by the divine presence he now embodies. It's interesting to think about the craftsmanship of that mirror. Creating a large, flawless obsidian mirror was an incredible feat of Aztec artisanship. They didn't have diamond-tipped tools or modern polishing machines. Instead, artisans would spend months, sometimes years, grinding the rough obsidian with progressively finer grades of sand and water, working patiently until the surface was smooth enough to achieve a glassy, reflective sheen. Holding such an object was like holding a lifetime of skilled work in your hands. A strange, quirky fact is that these mirrors weren't just for looking at oneself. Shamans, or Tezcatlipoca, would use them for scrying, for divination. They would gaze into the dark, smoky depths, sometimes with the help of hallucinogenic plants, seeking visions of the future or answers to cosmic questions. As you stare into it, you wonder if they see your future in its depths. You have a pretty good and rather bleak idea of what it holds. The academic world still holds a healthy debate about the true symbolic meaning of the smoking aspect of the mirror. Some scholars argue it relates to obsidian's volcanic origins, the smoke and fire of its creation. Others suggest it's about the mirror's use in divination, the cloudy visions that appear like smoke within its depths. A more poetic interpretation is that it represents the elusive and obscure nature of fate and divinity itself, something you can see but never clearly. Whatever the true meaning, the effect on you is profound. It serves as a stark, visual confirmation that your old identity has been wiped away, painted over, unreplaced. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, the attendant lowers the mirror and carefully covers it again. The reflection is gone, but the image is burned into your mind. You are his face, his jewelry, his feathers. The attendants, having completed their sacred task, bowed deeply one last time before backing out of the room, leaving you alone once more with your new, terrifying identity. You raise a hand, the golden bands on your wrist clinking softly. You touch the painted stripes on your cheek. The paint is dry and feels like a thin layer of clay on your skin. You are a living work of art, a temporary vessel for an eternal, capricious God. You walk around the small chamber, the gentle rustle of your Quetzal feathers and the soft clink of your jewelry the only sounds. You feel trapped not by walls, but by the sheer weight of symbolism you are forced to carry. The scent of flowers and copal incense still fills the air, but now it seems less like a pleasant fragrance and more like the cloying perfume of a funeral rite. You understand now. This is a cocoon, a place of transformation, and something is supposed to emerge. Something that is not you. The problem is you are still in here, trapped inside the god, looking out through his painted eyes, wondering how long you can remember your own name. Year-long performance has just begun, and you have already forgotten your lines. Or rather, you haven't been given a script. You only have a costume, and a terrifying reflection in a dark, smoky mirror. The rhythm of your days quickly settles into a strange and luxurious monotony. Time seems to bend and warp in this opulent prison. The sun rises and sets, but your life is measured in rituals, not hours. And the most central of these rituals, the one that structures your entire existence, is food. You are a god, and a god must be nourished, but not in the hurried, functional way of a mortal. Every meal is an event. The two attendants, your constant, silent companions, will enter bearing not simple platters, but a procession of steaming, elaborately decorated ceramic bowls. The variety is of turkey stewed in a rich, dark sauce of ground chars and chocolate, the early ancestor of what will one day be called mole. There are tamales, soft corn dough stuffed with beans or spiced rabbit meat, wrapped in corn husks and steamed to perfection. There are delicate lake fish grilled with tomatoes and green chiles, and piles of freshly made corn tortillas, still warm and puffy from the griddle. The scents that fill your chamber are intoxicating, a complex tapestry of smoke, spice, and earth. They arrange the dishes before you on low, woven mats. But you are not simply allowed to eat. You are instructed, through a series of gentle, guiding gestures, on the proper way for a god to dine. You must eat with a profound and deliberate slowness. Each movement must be graceful, measured. You are to lift each piece of food as if it were a precious jewel. You are to chew thoughtfully, savoring each flavor as a divine gift from the earth. There is no rushing, in the common sense of the word. You are performing the act of consumption. Your attendants watch you from a respectful distance, their eyes always downcast. Their purpose is not just to serve, but to ensure you are maintaining the divine illusion. If you eat too quickly, one might make a soft, barely audible clearing of the throat, a gentle reminder to slow down. It's a subtle but constant form of control. This is a core part of your year-long training. You are learning to move like a god, to act like a god, to exist with a grace and deliberation that separates you from the mortal world. One of the more peculiar delicacies you're often served is a bit of a surprise. Alongside the rich stews and grilled meats, they will sometimes present you with a small bowl of what looks like tiny, greenish-blue cakes or spirals. This is Tezcatlipoca, a substance harvested from the surface of Lake Texcoco. For centuries, historians who read the Spanish accounts were baffled by this slime that the Aztecs ate. Today we know it as spirulina, an algae that is now sold in health food stores around the world as a superfood, packed with protein and vitamins. You as Tezcatlipoca get to enjoy this nutritious bone scum, likely prepared by being dried into cakes and then served with a bit of chili and tomato. It has a slightly fishy, salty taste. Divine health food, you suppose. A quirky testament to the Aztecs' incredible ability to find nourishment in every corner of their environment. The question of what exactly we're allowed to eat and drink is still a subject of some academic discussion. The codices and Spanish chronicles, like the work of Bernardino de Sahagun, who documented many of these rituals, are our main sources. They describe these lavish feasts in great detail. However, there's an ongoing debate about certain restrictions. For instance, were you forbidden from eating foods that were considered too earthly or associated with lower status individuals? Was the consumption of pulque, the fermented agave drink, common among the populace, forbidden to you while you were applied with the high status cacao? It's believed your diet was carefully curated not just for luxury, but to maintain a specific state of ritual purity. You were being fed, but you were also being controlled, your body chemistry managed through a carefully selected menu. The psychological effect of this is profound. On the one hand, you are being given the best of everything. The flavors are incredible, the variety endless. You are eating better than 99% of the population of the entire empire. But on the other hand, the act of eating, one of the most basic and personal human experiences, has been stolen from you. It has become a performance, a public display of divinity. You feel a strange sense of detachment from your own body, from your own hunger. You eat because it is time to eat, because it is part of the ritual. The pleasure of the food is muted by the constant pressure to act the part. Sometimes after a meal, you are given a smoking tub of tobacco to puff on, another luxury reserved for the elite. The smoke is fragrant and relaxing, and for a moment, it can almost make you forget. For a moment, you can lean back on your cotton cushions, inhale the gentle smoke, and just exist. But the moment is always fleeting. The attendants are always there, waiting silently to clear away the dishes, to prepare you for the next part of your day, the next act in this long, elaborate play. You begin to realize that the luxury is the cage. The endless feasts, the soft bed, the fragrant oils, they are not gifts. They are tools. They are designed to soften you, to domesticate you, to make you forget the warrior you once were. They are fattening a god for the slaughter, and they are doing it with such kindness, such reverence, that it's impossible to resist. You are being lulled into a state of passive acceptance, one delicious, slow-motion meal at a time. The city breathes and lies just beyond your walls. But in here, in this gilded cage, you are slowly, gracefully being consumed. From your chamber, you have access to a small private balcony. It's not large, just a narrow stone ledge enclosed by a low carved wall. But it is your only window onto the world. Stepping out onto it for the first time, you are hit by a sensory wave that is almost overwhelming. After the perfumed quiet of your room, the city of Tenochtitlan is an explosion of life. You are high up, perhaps in a chamber attached to the great palace complex of the Emperor Moctezuma II himself. Below you, the city stretches out like a vast, breathing organism. It is a sight of impossible beauty and ingenuity. Tenochtitlan is a city built on an island in the middle of a lake, a shimmering metropolis of canals, crossways, and floating gardens. From your vantage point, You can see the deep blue of the canals crisscrossing the city, acting as its streets, thin and long like water skeeters, glide along these waterways, carrying everything from produce and pottery to nobles draped in fine cotton. The soft, rhythmic splash of their paddles is a constant, gentle hum that rises up to you. The city is a mosaic of color. The temples and palaces are plastered and painted in brilliant whites and deep reds that seem to glow in the tropical sun. Between the buildings, you see the lush green of the China palms, the famous floating gardens. These worm-made islands of woven reeds and mud anchored to the lakebed, where the Aztecs grew an abundance of flowers, vegetables, and medicinal herbs. They were incredibly fertile, yielding multiple harvests a year and feeding a massive population. Looking down, you see a grid of impossible green, floating on the water, tended by farmers in small canoes. Then there are the sounds. The constant murmur of a vast population, the Nahuatl language rising and falling in a melodic chatter that you can't. You hear the cries of vendors in the distant marketplace of Tezcatlipoca, the largest market in the Americas, a place said to be swarming with tens of thousands of people every day. You hear the barking of dogs, not the big dogs you might imagine, but the small, hairless oryx attentional, which were kept for companionship, then sometimes for food. You hear the sharp, percussive sound of stonecutters at work on a new temple, and the laughter of children playing by a canal. And over it all, from the tops of the great pyramids that dominate the skyline, you occasionally hear the deep, booming tone of a massive drum, or the high, mournful cry of a conch-shell trumpet, signaling a ritual or a specific time of day. This city is the heart of a powerful empire, and you can feel its pulse from your balcony. It's a strange and deeply isolating experience. You are at the very center of this vibrant world, yet you are completely removed from it. You are a holy relic, kept in a display case with a beautiful view. The people in the canoes below, the vendors in the market, the children playing by the water, they are living their lives, full of purpose and mundane concerns. Your life, however, has been stripped of all purpose except one. You are an object of worship, and objects do not participate. They are merely observed. One quirky detail that might catch your eye is the astonishing cleanliness of the city. For a metropolis of its size, some estimates place the population at over 200,000 people, larger than any European city of the time except perhaps Constantinople or Paris. It was remarkably clean. The Spanish conquistadors who would arrive in a few short years would be stunned by this. Tenochtitlan had public latrines, sanitation crews, and entire teams of street sweepers. People would even collect human waste in canoes to be used as fertilizer on the China palms. So while you stand on your balcony, you are not assaulted by the foul smells you might associate with a large pre-modern city. Instead, the air carries the scent of lake water, wood smoke, and the thousands of flowers growing on the floating gardens on rooftops. Of course, the debate among historians and archaeologists rages on about the exact layout and population of the city. While we have the accounts of the Spanish and the evidence from excavations, the true scale of Tenochtitlan is still something of a magnificent puzzle. How did they manage the complex hydraulic systems? How centralized was the city's planning? Every new dig beneath the streets of modern-day Mexico City reveals another small piece of this incredible urban masterpiece. You watch as the sun begins to set, casting long shadows across the canals and painting the white temples in hues of orange and pink. The city begins to quiet down. Torches are lit, small points of fire that glitter like fallen stars along the waterways. The distant market chatter fades, replaced by the chirping of crickets and the croaking of crickets and the croaking of frogs from the lake. The air grows cooler. Standing on the balcony, you feel a profound sense of awe mixed with an equally profound loneliness. You are looking at one of the great wonders of the world, a city of impossible dreams built on water. It is beautiful and vibrant and utterly alien, and you are the sacred secret kept hidden in its heart. When your attendants come to gently guide you back inside, away from the cooling air, you go without protest. The city has shown you its magnificent face, but you know you will never truly be a part of it. You are just a reflection, a smoking mirror, destined to watch the world from a distance until your time is up. Your days are not only filled with feasting and observation, they are also filled with music, or rather the learning of it. A few days into your strange new life, two priests begin to visit you daily. They're older men, their earlobes elongated and shredded from years of ritual bloodletting, a common sign of piety and status. Their black hair is long and matted, as was the custom for priests of their rank. Like your attendants, they exude an aura of deep, almost unnerving calm, and they too avoid direct eye contact. They bring with them several clay flutes. These are not simple pipes. They are works of art, carefully sculpted and fired, some shaped like flowers, others like strange, mythical beings. The priest's ask is to teach you how to play them. This is not for your entertainment. The music you create is considered the literal voice of Tezcatlipoca. When you play, the god is speaking through you. Therefore, the melodies must be perfect. Your first lesson is an exercise in patience. One of the priests demonstrates a simple series of notes, a haunting, breathy melody that seems to hang in the air long after the sound has faded. The music of the Aztecs was pentatonic, based on a 5-note scale, which gives it a distinctive, ethereal quality. It is full of slides and trills, sounds meant to imitate the rustle of wind, the call of a bird, or the cry of a jaguar. Your job is to listen, and then to replicate. At first your attempts are clumsy. The notes come out airy and weak, or sharp and shrill. You, a warrior, are used to handling a club or a spear, not a delicate instrument of clay. The priests show no frustration. They simply demonstrate the melody again, and again, and again. Their patience is absolute, almost inhuman. They will sit with you for hours repeating the same few notes until you can play them with the required grace and precision. There is no praise when you get it right, and no scolding when you fail. There is only the endless, gentle repetition of the lesson. This is a powerful form of psychological conditioning. You are being taught, through the medium of music, the virtues of patience, grace, and perfection. The melodies themselves are repetitive, hypnotic. As you practice for hours on end, your mind begins to empty. The warrior's thoughts of resistance or escape are replaced by a singular focus, getting the next note right. You become lost in the simple, physical act of breathing, of placing your fingers on the holes, of feeling the vibration of the instrument. One of the more interesting and slightly quirky things about these flutes is what they were made of. While most were simple baked clay, archaeologists have found evidence of more complex designs. Some flutes were double or even triple chambered, allowing the skilled player to create harmonies and chords sounding like multiple musicians at once. They also had a fascinating variety of whistles, shaped like animals and skulls, that could produce an array of sounds, from bird calls to a truly terrifying, high-pitched death whistle that scholars believe may have been used in battle or during sacrificial ceremonies to create psychological terror. The flutes you are given are more melodic than terrifying, but they are part of this rich and complex musical tradition. The academic world has long been fascinated by the role of music in Aztec ritual. Was it purely an offering, a beautiful sound to please the gods? Or did it have a more psychopative purpose? Ethnomusicologists and historians argue that the specific rhythms and repetitive, droning melodies were designed to induce altered states of consciousness, a kind of trance state in both the performer and the audience. They believe that by playing this music, you were not just impersonating a god. You were helping to create a hypnotic, sacred atmosphere that blurred the lines between the physical and spiritual worlds. Your music was quite literally an enchantment. As weeks turn into months, you become a master of the flute. The clumsy squeaks and squawks are gone, replaced by a fluid, confident sound. The melodies are no longer a struggle to remember. They feel as natural as breathing. You can now play the songs of the rain, the songs of the corn, the songs of the sacred mountains. The priests bring you new, more complex instruments and melodies to learn. The music becomes your primary form of expression in a world where your spoken words have no meaning or audience. The attendants will sometimes leave the door to your chamber open while you play, allowing the sound to drift out into the palace corridors. You imagine nobles and servants pausing in their duties to listen to the divine music, the voice of Tezcatlipoca echoing through the halls. It adds another layer to your bizarre existence. You are a source of beauty, an artist held in the highest esteem, but you are not creating for yourself. You are a living instrument, played by the hands of a tradition you cannot comprehend, for an audience you will never meet. You find a strange, hollow comfort in the music. In those moments when the melody flows perfectly, you can almost forget who you are, where you came from, and where you are going. There is only the sound, the breath, the gentle pressure of your fingers on the cool clay. But then the song ends. The final note fades into the perfumed air of your chamber, and in the silence that follows, the reality of your situation always returns, sharp and clear. You are a musician playing a prelude to your own demise. Each beautiful note is one step closer to the final silent chord. After a period of seclusion, a time dedicated to your transformation, the priests decide you are ready. It is time for you to be shown to the world. It is time for the people of Tenochtitlan to lay eyes upon their living god. This is not a simple walk through the streets. Your divine feet are considered too sacred to touch the common earth. Instead, you are to be carried, for strong attendants arrive at your chamber. They bring with them a litter, a kind of portable throne. It's a magnificent creation, a wooden frame covered in jaguar pelts, with intricate mosaics of turquoise and shell decorating the sides. A light canopy of quetzal feathers is arched over the seat, designed to shade you from the harsh sun. It is both a vehicle and a shrine. They gesture for you to sit. As you settle onto the soft jaguar skin, you feel a lurch as the four men lift the litter onto their shoulders. They move in a practiced, coordinated rhythm, ensuring your ride is as smooth as possible. Carried out of the palace grounds, you pass through a high gate and into the city proper for the first time. The transition is jarring. The relative quiet you have grown accustomed to is shattered by a great, collective roar. Thousands of people line the wide avenue. They are packed shoulder to shoulder, a dense sea of humanity, all straining to catch a glimpse of you. The air is thick with the scent of their bodies, of the flowers they carry, and of burning copal incense from the censers that priests swing as they walk ahead of your procession. As you float above them on your litter, you see their faces. Their expressions are a complex mixture of awe, reverence, and a deep primal fear. They do not cheer or shout. Instead, a reverent hush falls over the crowd as you pass, punctuated by gasps and quiet prayers. Many fall to their knees, bowing their heads to the ground. They press their fingers to the earth and then to their lips, their gesture of deep respect called TLA=CUA. They are not looking at a man being carried on a chair. They are looking at the incarnation of Tezcatlipoca, the all-powerful Lord of the Smoking Mirror, a god who could bring both blessings and ruin. Your role in this is to be utterly passive. You are to sit enthroned, still and serene, a living statue. You are instructed to gaze forward, over the heads of the crowd, with a look of divine indifference. You are a being of a higher plane, and the frantic, emotional world of mortals is beneath your notice. From time to time, as part of the ritual, you are to lift one of your clay flutes to your lips and play a few haunting notes. The sound, your divine voice, carries over the hushed crowd, and a ripple of emotion, a collective shiver, passes through them. It's a strange and lonely vantage point. You are the center of a massive emotional spectacle, but you are entirely separate from it. The people below see a god. You see 1,000 strangers, their faces a blur of adoration and terror. You wonder what they are thinking. Do they feel pity for the man inside the costume? Or is the ritual so powerful that they no longer see a man at all? This leads to a fascinating, quirky detail of Aztec social etiquette. While the common people would prostrate themselves before you, the nobility had a different way of showing respect. A high-ranking lord or warrior, when greeting a superior such as the emperor, or in your case, a living god, was expected to avoid looking them directly in the eye. Direct eye contact was seen as an act of insolence, a challenge. Instead, they would keep their gaze lowered, speaking to you with their head bowed. So as you are carried through the city, even the most powerful men, draped in their own fine featherwork and gold, will stop and bow their heads, refusing to meet your gaze. It's a powerful reinforcement of your divine status. Everyone from the lowest farmer to the highest noble affirms your new reality. Historians and anthropologists are still debating the precise political function of these processions. Were they purely religious events, or were they a form of political theater, a tool used by the state to reinforce its power and legitimacy? by parading a living god through the streets, a captive taken from an enemy state. The Aztec Emperor was sending a clear message. We are the chosen people. The gods are on our side. Our power is absolute, sanctioned by the cosmos itself. Your procession is a beautiful, terrifying piece of propaganda, and you are its star. The procession lasts for hours. You are carried through different districts of the city, along the wide causeways and past the great temples. The sun beats down, and the canopy of feathers offers only partial shade. The weight of your own golden ornaments becomes a dull, persistent ache. The roar of the crowd becomes a monotonous drone. You feel less like a god and more like a parade float, a beautiful object being displayed for public consumption. By the time you are returned to the quiet solitude of your chambers, you are exhausted, not physically, but mentally and emotionally. The attendants help you remove the heavy headrest and the turquoise collar. The relief is immense, like taking off a suit of armor. You are left alone, the distant sounds of the city once again filtering in through your balcony. The experience has changed something in you. Before, your godhood was an abstract concept, confined to your room and your reflection in the mirror. Now, it has been made real. Thousands of people have affirmed it. They have looked at you and seen Tezcatlipoca. The line between the man and the mask, already blurry, has just been eroded a little bit more. Just as the routine of feasts and flute playing becomes your new normal, the priests introduce another, far more intimate, element to your divine life. Yes, but you are also to be a husband. One evening, your attendants led for young women into your chamber. They are beautiful, chosen for their grace and perfection from noble families across the empire. They are presented to you not as companions in the mortal sense, but as living manifestations of goddesses. Each one has been given a new name for the duration of this ritual year, names of goddesses associated with flowers, young corn, salt, and the earth's fertility. There is Quetzal, the flower feather, Kaikumcoatl, seven serpent, Hixithatlit, the salt woman, and Atlotoman, and Atlotonan, another goddess. They are to be your wives, your divine consorts, for the remainder of your time on earth. Their arrival changes the atmosphere of your chambers completely. Where there was a sterile, masculine silence, there is now the soft rustle of their cotton huipiles, the gentle scent of the flowers they wear in their hair, and the quiet melody of their voices. They are trained in the arts of song, dance, and conversation. Their purpose is to please you, to keep your divine spirit content and happy. They are, in essence, the ultimate hostesses for a guest of honor whose stay is tragically temporary. They treat you with the same deep reverence as everyone else, yet their presence is far more personal. They will sit with you, weaving fine cloth on backstrap looms, their fingers moving with a hypnotic dexterity. They will sing for you, their voices blending in soft harmonies that tell stories of ancient gods and the creation of the world. They will prepare special foods for you, grinding corn by hand on a stone metate, infusing the simple act with a sense of ceremony. You are no longer alone. But this is not the companionship of equals. You are the sun around which these four beautiful moons orbit. They defer to you in everything, anticipating your needs, never contradicting you, their lives now completely dedicated to yours. It is an existence of incredible, almost suffocating pleasure and care. If you look sad, they will dance to lift your spirits. If you seem tired, they will prepare a cool, fragrant drink. Their job is to create a perfect paradise within your gilded cage. This practice introduces a fascinating and somewhat quirky aspect of Aztec theology. The concept of divine embodiment wasn't limited to just one person or one god. The Aztecs believed the sacred could manifest in multiple people simultaneously. So, while you are Tezcatlipoca, these women are, for this year, also considered Toxcatl, divine impersonators of their respective goddesses. You are a walking, breathing pantheon, a divine family living out a mythological drama in the heart of the palace. It's a bit like a cosmic reality show and you've been cast as the lead. The true nature of your relationship with these four women is a subject of intense debate among scholars. The Spanish chroniclers, viewing it through their own 16th century Catholic lens, often described the arrangement in scandalous terms. But what was the reality? Was it a truly intimate, emotional connection? Or was it a purely ritualistic one? A symbolic union of divine forces? Some historians argue that true emotional bonds must have formed in such close quarters over many months. Others maintain that the entire affair was so heavily ritualized that personal feelings were secondary, if not entirely suppressed. The women knew your fate, and you knew theirs after your sacrifice. They would live in respected widowhood for the rest of their lives, their status as former goddess impersonators ensuring them a place of honor in society. This paradise you now inhabit is, of course, a beautifully crafted illusion. It is designed to be the ultimate distraction. The soft music, the delicious food, the constant, gentle affection, it is all meant to keep you placid, to make you forget the inexorable ticking of the calendar. The four women are your beautiful, devoted jailers. Their kindness is a chain, their affection a lock. How can you rage against a fate that is delivered with such a gentle touch? How can you despair when you are surrounded by so much life and beauty? You spend your days with them, walking in the private gardens, listening to their songs, playing your flute for them. In these moments, it is almost possible to believe the illusion. It is almost possible to feel like a real person, a husband, a man living a life of unbelievable privilege. You share jokes, you learn their individual personalities. One is shy and artistic, another is witty and laughs easily. You see the human beings beneath the divine titles. But the illusion is fragile. Sometimes in a quiet moment, you will catch a flicker of deep sadness in one of their eyes before she quickly masks it with a smile. It is a fleeting, accidental glimpse of the truth they all know and must never acknowledge. They are goddesses, and you are a god. But they are also young women, and you are all trapped in the same beautiful, tragic play. Their presence makes your gilded cage infinitely more comfortable and infinitely more cruel. They have given you a taste of a life you could have loved, a life that you are destined, by divine decree, to lose. Within the palace grounds, separate from the public spaces and formal courtyards, lies a secluded garden. It is a place of profound peace, designed specifically for the pleasant contemplation of the divine figures who reside here, meaning, for you. Your attendants and your divine wives often accompany you here, making it a regular part of your daily routine. Stepping into the garden feels like entering another world. High walls covered in fragrant jasmine and climbing vines, shielded from the sounds and sights of the bustling city. The air here is noticeably cooler, perfumed by thousands of blooms. Pathways made of smooth, polished riverstones wind through carefully arranged flowers. Here, you find every kind of flower imaginable in the Aztec world, vibrant marigolds, delicate orchids, the crimson and white of the sea Impersonation, and the intoxicating sweetness of the plumeria. Small, tranquil ponds are scattered throughout the garden, their surfaces covered with water lilies and teeming with colorful fish. Smooth, dark volcanic rocks are placed artfully as seating areas, and miniature waterfalls cascade gently into the ponds, creating a soft, continuous murmur of running water. Sculptures carved from basalt and jade are nestled among the foliage, depicting gods and mythical creatures, their faces serene and ancient. This garden is a masterpiece of Aztec landscape architecture. It is a place of ordered beauty, reflecting their deep appreciation for nature and their belief that gardens were microcosms of the cosmos. As you walk through it, the soft earth beneath your sandaled feet, the distant hum of bees visiting the flowers, it all contributes to a powerful sense of serenity. It's almost possible to forget why you are here, to simply be a man enjoying a beautiful garden. Your wives often bring their weaving here, their looms clicking softly as they work. You might sit on a stone bench, playing your flute, letting the haunting melodies mingle with the sounds of the water and the birds. Sometimes you simply sit in silence, observing the intricate patterns of a butterfly's wings, or the way the sunlight filters through the leaves, de-appling the ground in shifting patches of light and shadow. One fascinating, if somewhat morbid, detail about Aztec gardens, including those in noble residences, is that they often contained more than just beautiful flowers and plants. They also frequently included small, enclosed spaces that served as zoos or menageries, housing a variety of animals both common and exotic. While your particular garden might be purely for aesthetic pleasure, It's not uncommon for powerful rulers to have maintained collections of jaguars, eagles, serpents, and even human oddities. So as you stroll amongst the fragrant blossoms, you might momentarily wonder if there's a hidden enclosure with a rather grumpy jaguar watching you from behind a particularly lush hibiscus bush. Thankfully, no such growls disturb your quiet contemplation. The role of gardens in Aztec society and their connection to ritual is still a topic of ongoing academic discussion. Were they purely places of leisure and aesthetic pleasure for the elite? Or did they serve a deeper, more symbolic function, acting as living temples, places where the boundaries between the natural and spiritual worlds were particularly thin? Some scholars argue that the precise arrangement of plants, the flow of water, and the placement of sculptures were all laden with cosmological meaning, designed to invoke specific deities or create a sense of harmony that was essential for sacred contemplation. For you, the debate is moot. This garden is both. It is a place of incredible beauty, and it is a place of profoundly unsettling peace. The quiet, reflective atmosphere of the garden is, like everything else, part of the elaborate system designed to shape your state of mind. It is an invitation to accept your fate with grace and tranquility. It is hard to feel rebellious or angry when surrounded by such profound beauty. The constant, gentle sounds of water and birds are like a lullaby, soothing away any stray thoughts of desperation or despair. You are being conditioned to embrace peace, even as your end approaches. You lean back against a cool stone watching a hummingbird dart among the trumpet flowers, its tiny wings ablur. It is so free, moving from blossom to blossom, completely unaware of the beautiful, deadly system that encompasses your life. You envy its simplicity. You wish you could just felicity. You wish you could just perfect. Yelb the high walls, beyond the confines of this perfect, gilded prison. That the walls are too high, the attendants too vigilant, and the purpose of your existence too profound. The garden, with all its beauty, is just another room in your magnificent, slowly shrinking world. It is a temporary paradise, a soft landing spot before the final, brutal journey. You breathe in the perfume of 1,000 flowers, a scent that now feels inextricably linked to your impending doom. You are cultivating calm, just as these flowers are cultivated, to be beautiful for a brief, glorious moment before being cut down. One day, your routine is altered. Instead of the usual fluke, lesson, or a walk in the garden, you are visited by a single, imposing figure. This is not one of the quiet, anonymous priests who instructs you in music. This is a high priest, a man of immense power and authority, whose face you have seen only in murals and from a great distance. He is older, his face a mask of deep-set wrinkles and profound solemnity. He wears a cloak of black cotton, and the scent of copal and dried blood hangs faintly about him, a perfume of sacred duty. He enters your chamber alone, a rare and significant event. Your attendants and even your wives withdraw, leaving you in his presence. For the first time in what feels like an eternity, you are treated not as a passive idol, but as a being with a mind, someone worthy of a direct conversation. He does not bow or lower his gaze. He looks directly at you, his dark eyes holding a depth that seems to contain the history of the world. He begins to speak. His voice is low and raspy, a voice accustomed to chanting in vast, open plazas. He speaks in the high-flown, formal dialect of natural religious and state matters, a language of metaphor and poetry. He does not speak to you of sacrifice or of your impending death. He does not use words like captive or victim. Instead, he speaks of cosmic cycles, of the sun's need for nourishment, and of the sacred duty of humanity to maintain the balance of the universe. He explains your role not as a man who is going to die, but as a divine vessel who will complete a sacred journey. He tells you that you are Tezcatlipoca, the lord of the near and the nigh, the one who gives and takes away. Your year of luxury, he explains, is not a kindness in the mortal sense. It is the proper due for a god walking among men. It is a period of fattening the soul, of making your spirit potent and worthy of being offered back to the cosmos. He speaks of the universe as a fragile, ongoing creation, a constant struggle between light and darkness. The gods, he says, sacrificed themselves at the beginning of time to create the world and set the sun in motion. Now it is the duty of humankind to repay that debt, to feed the gods with the most precious substance of all, Chalkai Huatel, precious water, the poetic term for human life force. Without this nourishment, he explains with a chilling calm, the sun would cease its journey across the sky. The stars would fall, and the universe would descend into an eternal, terrifying darkness. Your sacrifice, he tells you, is not an end. It is a moment of glorious transformation. You are not dying. You are returning home. You will ascend to the heavens, becoming one with the creative force of the universe. You are the messenger, the carrier of the people's devotion, delivered directly to the heart of the cosmos. Your death will ensure that the sun rises tomorrow, that the corn grows, that the city of Tenochtitlan endures. It is a powerful, hypnotic speech. The priest's conviction is absolute. He is not a cruel man trying to justify a brutal act. He is a scholar, a theologian, explaining the fundamental mechanics of the universe as he understands them. He is giving you the ultimate honor, a purpose so grand and cosmic that your individual life, your personal fears and desires, seem insignificant by comparison. One of the more quirky details of this theological framework is the Aztec concept of the afterlife. It was not primarily determined by how you lived your life, morally good or bad, but by how you died. Warriors who died in battle, women who died in childbirth, and, most honorably, sacrificial victims like you, were all granted a glorious afterlife. You would go to the paradise of the sun god, where you would spend your days singing and feasting, eventually returning to earth after for years as a hummingbird or a butterfly. So, from the priest's perspective, he's not just explaining your death, he's outlining your fantastic, post-mortem career change into a beautiful, nectar-sipping insect. It's a strangely whimsical ending to a terrifying prospect. The academic debate here is, of course, immense. To what extent did the average Aztec citizen, or even the sacrificial victims themselves, truly believe this complex theology? Was it a universally held truth, or was it a state religion, a powerful ideology imposed from the top down to justify conquest and social control? Did you, the man inside the costume, find any comfort in the priest's words? Or did you hear them as a beautiful, elaborate lie, a poetic justification for cold-blooded murder? We can never know for sure. The internal experience of the Tezcatlipoca is lost to time, a silence at the heart of the historical record. The high priest speaks for what feels like hours. You listen in silence, your own thoughts are tumultuous see beneath his calm, poetic words. He is offering you a story, a narrative to make sense of the senseless. He is giving you a mask of cosmic purpose to wear over the face of your fear. When he is finished, he simply stands, gives a slight, almost imperceptible nod of his head, and leaves you. You are left alone in the sudden profound silence. The room feels different now. The abstract nature of your situation has been replaced by a clear, terrifying, and strangely beautiful ideology. You are not just a captive waiting for execution. You are the key. You are the single, fragile human being upon whose shoulders the entire weight of the cosmos has been placed. The sun, he said, needs you. It's an impossible burden, and an undeniable honor. The fear has not gone away, but now it has a companion, a strange, terrifying sense of purpose. The passing of time, once a fluid and unnoticed current, now begins to feel different. You start to measure it in the changing light, the subtle shifts in the air, and most tangibly, in the sheer physical weight of your divine role. The gold that adorns your body, once a symbol of unthinkable luxury, is starting to feel less like a gift and more like a set of ornate, gilded chains. Every morning, the attendants dress you. The cool, heavy weight of the golden armband slides onto your biceps. The thick, turquoise mosaic collar settles onto your shoulders, its heft a constant reminder of your sacred identity. Golden rings are placed on your fingers, and golden greaves, decorated with the image of eagle feathers, are tied around your shins. The final touch is often a pair of golden sandals, their straps intricate, their soles thin and hard. When you first wore these items, the feeling was one of awe. You were draped in a fortune, wearing more wealth than an entire village might see in a lifetime. But now, after months of this daily ritual, The novelty has long since worn off. The awe has been replaced by a dull, persistent ache. The braces on your muscles, restricts your movements, and chafes your movements, and chafes your skin. The armbands pinch when you bend your elbows. The collar is a constant, unyielding pressure on your collarbone. The sandals, beautiful as they are, offer no comfort, turning a simple walk in the garden into a clanking, deliberate effort. Your body is slowly being conditioned by this weight. You move more slowly, more deliberately, not just because the rituals demand it, but because you have no other choice. To move quickly would be exhausting and uncomfortable. The costume is physically training you to have the stately, measured gait of a living idol. You are not just acting like a god. Your very muscles and bones are being forced into the part. This brings up a quirky, practical detail of Aztec metallurgy. The gold used by the Aztecs was rarely pure 24-karat gold. It was almost always an alloy, a mixture of gold, silver, and copper known as tumbago. This alloy was prized not just for its lower melting point, which made it easier to work with using their charcoal furnace technology, but also for its color and hardness. Depending on the ratio of metals, the color could range from reddish to pale yellow. The gold you are wearing is likely not the soft, buttery gold one might imagine, but a harder, more resilient, and ultimately heavier alloy. A small consolation, perhaps, that your divine chains are at least durable. The psychological effect of this constant weight is significant. It is a perpetual physical reminder of your inescapable fate. You can never forget who you are or what you are destined for, because the evidence of it is literally pressing down on you at all hours of the day. It separates you from the normal human experience of physical lightness and freedom. You feel ancient, burdened, and achingly weary, even after a full night's rest on your soft cotton bed. The academic debate surrounding the materials of Aztec ritual is fascinating. While gold and turquoise are well documented, scholars argue about the symbolic weight versus the literal weight of these items. Was the heaviness of the costume an intentional part of the ritual's psychological impact? Was it meant to physically slow down the victim to make them more docile and contemplative? Or was it simply a byproduct of showcasing the maximum possible wealth and divine power? Most likely, it was both. The Aztecs were masters of symbolism, and it's highly probable that the physical burden was seen as a direct reflection of the cosmic burden you were meant to be carrying. One afternoon, as you sit by a pond in the garden, you watch one of your wives, Tezcatlipoca, chase a butterfly. She is light and graceful, her bare feet making no sound on the grass, her simple cotton dress flowing around her. She laughs as the butterfly flits just out of her reach. You watch her, and you are acutely aware of the clanking sound your own golden jewelry makes with every tiny movement. You are aware of the ache in your shoulders, the pressure on your arms. The contrast between her freedom and your gilded captivity is a sharp physical pain, more acute than any muscular ache. She notices you watching, and her laughter fades, replaced by the serene, goddess-like smile she is supposed to wear in your presence. The moment of spontaneous joy is over, the ritual reasserted. She comes and sits quietly beside you. She doesn't ask what's wrong. She is not allowed to acknowledge that anything could possibly be wrong in the perfect world they have built for you. Instead, she simply begins to sing a soft, low melody, another beautiful, gentle distraction. You close your eyes and listen, feeling the unyielding weight of the gold against your skin. It feels as though the very earth is trying to reclaim you, pulling you down with these beautiful, heavy treasures. You are becoming a monument to yourself, a living statue slowly sinking under the weight of your own sacredness. And there is absolutely nothing you can do but sit still and bear it. Your world, for the most part, is a small and predictable loop. Your chambers, the garden, the company of your attendants and wives. The grand procession through the city was a shocking exception. But on a handful of other occasions, you are brought out into the more public, yet still restricted, areas of the palace complex. It is during one of these carefully managed excursions that you see him. You are being carried on your litter through a vast open courtyard, the kind used for state ceremonies. The plaza is paved with perfectly fitted flagstones and surrounded by the imposing, red and white walls of temples and government buildings. Squads of elite warriors, perhaps from the Jaguar or Eagle warrior societies, stand guard at the periphery, their stoic presence a clear indicator that this is the heart of imperial power. Your procession is small this time, just your litter bearers, a few priests swinging censers, and your 4 wives walking behind, their heads demurely bowed. Then you see a figure emerge onto a high terrace overlooking the courtyard. He is surrounded by a small retinue of nobles, but even from this distance, he is unmistakable. It is the great speaker, the Huitla the Emperor Moctezuma II himself. He is not dressed in the ostentatious gold you might expect. Instead, he wears a simple but elegant cloak of the finest hummingbird feathers, a garment of such exquisite craftsmanship that it shimmers and changes color with every breath of wind. He wears a simple turquoise diadem on his head, the symbol of his supreme authority. He does not look at you. Just as his nobles are forbidden from looking at him directly, he, in turn, shows a profound and ritualistic deference to you, the living vessel of a god. He stands, still and silent, as your litter passes below. His gaze is fixed on a point just above your head, acknowledging your presence without committing the impiety of direct eye contact with a deity. It is a stunning display of political and religious theater. He is the most powerful man in the known world, the absolute ruler of millions, and yet, in this public space, he performs an act of submission to you, a captive warrior from a conquered land. Your litter bearers do not pause. They continue their slow, rhythmic pace across the plaza. The entire encounter lasts no more than a minute. But in that minute, the true nature of your role is thrown into sharp relief. You are not just a religious figure, you are a political to love the highest order. Your existence, your divine status, is a cornerstone of the emperor's own power. By showing deference to you, he is publicly affirming his unique relationship with the gods. He is demonstrating to his court and his people that he, Moctezuma, is the one who commands the favor of the gods, the one who can provide them with a living deity to walk among them. It's a quirky and counterintuitive aspect of Aztec power dynamics. The emperor, in many ways, was also a captive of the rigid ritual and cosmic beliefs that governed his empire. Chronicles describe Moctezuma as a deeply religious and introspective man, almost a philosopher king, who was profoundly concerned with omens, prophecies, and the proper appeasement of the gods. His public deference to you is likely not just a political act, but a genuine expression of his own deeply held beliefs. He is both the puppet master and a puppet himself, bound by the same cosmic script that has determined your fate. The extent of the TLA to ANI's personal involvement in the selection and life of the Tezcatlipoca is a topic of historical debate. Did Moctezuma personally choose the captive who would embody Tezcatlipoca? Did he receive regular reports on your progress, your health, your mastery of the flute? The sources are unclear. Some historians believe the process was managed entirely by the high priesthood, with the emperor only participating in the key public ceremonies. Others argue that given the immense significance of the ritual, the emperor must have taken a keen, personal interest. The truth, as is often the case, is likely somewhere in between. As your litter carries you out of the great courtyard and back towards the secluded wing of the palace where you reside, the image of the emperor on the terrace is seared into your mind. You saw no emotion on his face, only a profound and regal stillness, but you can't help but wonder what he was thinking. Did he see a man? A god? A god? A symbol? Or did he see a reflection of his own gilded cage? He, too, lived a life of unimaginable luxury and suffocating ritual, his every move dictated by tradition and the perceived will of the gods. The encounter leaves you with a strange sense of connection to the most powerful man in the land. You are two sides of the same coin, the divine and the political, each validating the other's existence. He is the emperor because the gods you allow it. You are a god because the emperor, he, decrees it. You are both prisoners of the same magnificent, terrifying system. But there is one crucial difference. At the end of the year, his duties will continue. Yours will come to a spectacular and very, very final end. As the year progresses, you become intimately familiar with the rhythms of your divine life. You know the exact hour the priests will arrive for your flute lesson. You know the sequence of dishes that will likely appear at your evening meal. You know the songs your wives will sing as the sun sets over the city. This routine, once so alien and unsettling, has become a form of comfort, a predictable structure in an otherwise incomprehensible existence. Then, one day, the structure subtly changes. It begins with the music. The one who first taught you the simple, haunting melodies arrives with a new set of flutes. These are different from the ones you have been playing. They are smaller, and when you blow into them, they produce a higher, thinner, more mournful sound. The priest demonstrates the new melodies you are to learn. The music is slower, more somber. The bright bird-like trills and joyful rhythms are gone, replaced by long, sustained notes that sound like a lament. It is the music of endings. Your four eyes notice the change immediately. When you play these new sorrowful tunes, the light-hearted chatter in your chamber ceases. They lower their heads over their weaving, their hands falling still. A quiet, unspoken melancholy descends upon your small household. The beautiful illusion of a timeless paradise begins to crack. The new music is a constant, audible reminder that this year of divine masquerade is not infinite. It is a story, and you are approaching the final chapters. The psychological impact of this shift is profound. Music, which had been your escape, a way to lose yourself in the simple act of creation, now becomes a to-love remembrance. Each note you play is a reminder of the passage of time, a step closer to the inevitable conclusion. You are being asked to compose the soundtrack for your own funeral procession. It is a uniquely cruel and refined form of mental conditioning. You are not being told your time is running out. You are being made to express it, to feel it in your breath and through your fingertips. This use of music to guide emotional and spiritual states was central to Aztec ritual. It wasn't just background noise, it was an active agent in the ceremony. A fascinating, if slightly spooky, piece of ethnomusicological research involves the analysis of surviving Aztec musical instruments. Researchers have used modern technology to replicate the sounds of instruments, like the death whistle, and the effect is genuinely unnerving, a high-pitched, scream-like sound that likely had a terrifying psychological impact on the battlefield or during sacrifices. While your flutes are not so dramatic, they operate on the same principle. Sound is a tool to shape reality, to evoke specific emotions, and to prepare the mind for a sacred and terrifying event. Scholars still debate the precise meaning of this musical shift. Was it intended for you, the victim, to help you mentally prepare for your fate and accept it with a serene, melancholic grace? Or was it for the public, a way to signal to the entire community that the time of celebration was ending and the period of solemn, sacred duty was approaching? The answer is almost certainly both. Your sad melodies, drifting from the palace, would have been a public announcement, a change in the city's spiritual weather. The living god was beginning his long goodbye. Your wives try to counteract the melancholy. They bring you the sweetest fruits, the most beautiful flowers. They dance for you, their movements more energetic, more desperate, as if they could physically ward off the sadness that the music summons. But their efforts feel fragile, like building a dam of flower petals against a rising tide. The slow, sad notes from your flute always win. One evening you are playing a particularly mournful tune on your small flute. The sun is setting, and the room is filled with a soft orange light. You look at your wives. They are sitting together, their heads bowed, and you see a single tear trace a path down the cheek of the one named Tezcatlipoca, the goddess of young corn. She quickly wipes it away, hoping you did not see. In that moment, the entire artifice collapses. You are not a god, and they are not goddesses. You are a young man, and they are young women, caught in a tragedy they are forbidden to acknowledge. The sad music you are playing is not the voice of Tezcatlipoca. It is your own voice, your own sorrow, finally given a form of expression. You finish the melody, and the final note hangs in the heavy silence of the room. No one speaks. There's nothing to say. The music has already said it all. The party is almost over. The change in the music was the first sign. The next is a change of scenery. After nearly a year spent within the luxurious confines of the palace in Tenochtitlan, the priests inform you, through their usual method of deferential gestures and indirect instructions, that it is time for you to leave. But this is not an escape. nor is it the beginning of the end. For 20 days, you are to travel to the various towns and city-states that lie around the shores of the Great Lake Tezcatlipoca. These are the communities that pay tribute to the Triple Alliance, the foundation of the Aztec Empire. Your visit is a momentous occasion for them, a rare and auspicious event. The living god who has resided in the capital now deigns to visit his provincial subjects, to bestow his presence upon them before his final ascension. You travel in a manner befitting your station. A grand, canopied canoe, much larger and more ornate than the common crafts that ply the lake, is prepared for you. It is painted with the symbols of Tezcatlipoca and paddled by a team of strong, synchronized oarsmen. You sit enthroned in the center, sheltered from the sun, with your 4 wives accompanying you. A flotilla of smaller canoes follows, carrying priests, attendants, and guards. As you glide across the calm, blue waters of the lake, you see the true scale of the world you are leaving. The great volcanoes, Popocatépetl and Tezcatlipoca, stand like silent, snow-capped giants on the horizon. The shores of the lake are dotted with towns and villages, their white plastered buildings shimmering in the sun. You pass by the vast, green expanse of the China palms, the floating gardens that feed the empire, a testament to the incredible ingenuity of this civilization. It is a world of breathtaking beauty. At each town you visit, the reception is a smaller, more intimate version of the grand procession in Tenochtitlan. The entire populace turns out to greet you. They line the shores, holding offerings of flowers, food, and fine textiles. They fall to their knees as your canoe approaches the dock. You are then carried on your litter to their modest streets, past their local temples, bestowing upon them the honor of your divine presence. Feasts are held in your name. Local dignitaries and priests pay their respects, their heads bowed, their eyes lowered. It is during this tour that you notice a subtle shift in the way people look at you. The initial awe and fear are still there, but now they are mixed with a palpable sense of sadness of impending loss. They know this is a farewell tour. They know that the God who walks among them today will soon be gone. They are not just worshipping you, they are mourning you in advance. One quirky, and perhaps poignant, detail of this final tour is related to the Aztec calendar. Your entire year as Tezcatlipoca is timed to coincide with one of the most important festivals of the year, Toxcatl, the drought. This festival, held in the 5th month of the 238-day solar calendar, was dedicated to Tezcatlipoca and High Tezcatlipoca. Your sacrifice is the grand climax of this month-long festival. So your final tour is not just a random farewell, it's a meticulously timed countdown to a specific, unchangeable date in the sacred calendar. You are a living embodiment of a calendar event, a human hourglass, and the final grains of sand are beginning to fall. Historians often debate the political motivations behind this final tour. On one level, it was a religious necessity, allowing the wider population to participate in the worship of the Tenochtitlan. But on another, it was a powerful political tool. By parading you through these tributary towns, the empire was reinforcing its cultural and religious dominance. It was a reminder to these conquered peoples that their own local gods were subservient to the great gods of the Aztec capital. Peaceful and deeply intimidating display of imperial power, a velvet glove hiding an iron fist. For you, the experience is profoundly surreal. You are the guest of honor at a month-long party that is secretly awake. You are surrounded by adoration, feasted and celebrated. Yet you are the loneliest person in the world. Your 4 wives, your constant companions, seem to grow quieter and more somber with each town you visit. The reality of what is to come is no longer a distant abstraction. It is here, measured in the 20 days of this final journey. You sit in your grand canoe, the rhythmic splash of the paddles lulling you into a state of hypnotic calm. You watch the sun set behind the distant volcanoes, painting the sky in fiery colors. You have seen more beauty in this one year than most people see in a lifetime. And now, you must learn how to die as one. The final stop on your tour is a small, quiet village on the lakeshore, not far from the capital. It is from here that you will make your final journey. The tour is over. The countdown is almost complete. You wake on the final day, and the world feels different. It's not a dramatic change, The sun rises as it always has, casting a warm, golden light across the water. The air is still, holding the cool promise of the morning before the heat of the day settles in. But there is a stillness, a profound and heavy silence that was not there before. It feels as if the entire world is holding its breath. You are in a small, yet elegantly appointed house in the village designated for this final day. It is much simpler than your palace chambers in Tenochtitlan, but it is comfortable. Your attendants wake you with the same quiet deference as always, but their movements seem even slower, more deliberate, as if they are handling an object of immense and fragile value. They bring you a simple breakfast, much less lavish than the feasts you have grown accustomed to. It is as if the process of separating you from the material world has already begun. You step outside into a walled garden, smaller than the one in the palace, but still beautiful. The air is thick with the scent of dew on the flowers. The usual morning sounds, the distant chatter of villagers, the cry of birds are absent. An unnatural quiet hangs over everything. Even your four wives, when they join you, are silent. The easy, gentle companionship of the past months has evaporated, replaced by a shared, unspoken gravity. They look at you with an intensity that is almost unbearable, their eyes filled with a sorrow they can no longer conceal. This is the day of the Tezcatlipoca festival. For the rest of the empire, it is a day of great religious significance, marked by ceremonies, fasting, and prayers. For you it is simply the last day, the culmination of a year of preparation. The entire, vast machinery of the state and its religion, which has focused on you for 12 months, is now honed to this single, sharp point in time. A fascinating detail about the timing of this event is its connection to the agricultural cycle. The Toxcatl festival occurred in May, during the dry season, a time of great anxiety when people were praying for the rains to come and ensure a successful planting season. Your sacrifice to Tezcatlipoca, a god of fate and providence, was, in part, a desperate and powerful plea for water, for life, for the continuation of the natural cycle. You are not just dying for the natural cycle. Your end is inextricably linked to the hope for new beginnings. This cosmic significance, however, offers little comfort in the face of the stark, personal reality of the day. The psychological state of a sacrificial victim on their final day is, of course, a topic of much speculation among historians. The Spanish accounts, often written with a clear agenda to portray the Aztecs as savage, tend to emphasize the stoicism and willing acceptance of the victims. For example, the writings of Fray Diego describe the Ixoid going to their death with a tranquil heart and a serene face. But how much of this was true resignation, and how much was the result of a year of intense psychological conditioning, or perhaps even the use of calming, psychotropic drugs? Some scholars argue that substances, like the datura flower, whose scent you've often inhaled, might have been used to induce a state of calm detachment. It's a debate we can never truly settle, a question that lies buried with you. You spend the morning in a state of quiet limbo. There are no flute lessons, no grand processions. There is only waiting. You sit with your wives in the silent garden. No one speaks. What could they possibly say? Words of comfort would sound hollow. Words of love would be too painful. They simply sit with you, their presence a final, silent vigil. One of them hitches out and gently straightens the turquoise collar you wear, her fingers brushing against your neck for a brief, fleeting moment. It is a small, human gesture that pierces through the heavy curtain of ritual, a moment of simple, heartbreaking tenderness. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, you feel a strange sense of detachment, as if you are watching a scene from someone else's life. The fear is still there, a cold, hard knot in the pit of your stomach. But it is overlaid with a profound sense of resignation, a calm that is almost dreamlike. You have lived as a god for a year. You have been feasted, worshipped, and adored. You have experienced a life of unimaginable luxury and honor. The story has been written, the part has been played, there is only one scene left. A priest arrives at the gate of the garden. He does not need to speak. His presence is the signal. It is time. The waiting is over. The final act is about to begin. The arrival of the priest signals the beginning of a series of formal, final farewells. The first and most heart-wrenching is to the 4 women who have been your world for the better part of a year. They rise from their seats in the garden, their movements graceful but heavy with a sorrow that is now openly displayed. The time for pretending is over. This is not a chaotic, emotional goodbye. Like everything else in your life, it is structured by ritual. One by one, they approach you. They do not embrace what would be unseemly for goddesses. Instead, they perform a gesture of formal respect and farewell. Each woman comes before you, bows her head deeply, and speaks your divine name Tezcatlipoca, her voice thick with unshed tears. It is a final acknowledgement of the role you have played, a final affirmation of your sacredness. You look at each of them as they come forward. You see Tezcatlipoca, who taught you the names of the flowers in the garden. You see Toxcatl, who would laugh at your clumsy first attempts to play the flute. You see Tezcatlipoca, whose quiet strength was a calming presence. And you see Tenochtitlan, who would sing the old stories of the gods in a low, soft voice as you drifted to sleep. These are the faces that have populated your gilded cage, transforming it, at times, into something that felt almost like a home. There is a profound and tragic intimacy in this moment. You have shared a life with these women. They have cared for you, pleased you, and distracted you. They have been your partners in this strange, year-long performance. And now, you must leave them, and they must let you go. Their duty as divine consorts is complete. Their final task is to release you to your fate. After they have each paid their respects, they turn and, without a backward glance, walk out of the garden. Priests are waiting to escort them away. You watch them go, the 4 of them, a small, somber procession of goddesses returning to the mortal world. Your brief, divine marriage is over. The silence they leave behind is immense, a hollow space in the world that had, just moments before, been filled with their presence. This part of the ritual is particularly fascinating to anthropologists. It represents the formal severing of your ties to the earthly pleasures and attachments that have defined your year. Your wives were symbols of fertility, food, flowers, and love, the very best that the material world has to offer. By bidding them farewell, you are symbolically renouncing that world. You are turning away from the horizontal plane of human existence and preparing to travel on the vertical axis upwards, towards the divine. It's a powerful piece of symbolic theater, a clean and necessary break before the final ascent. Quirky, and rather sad, detail concerns the future of these women. As mentioned, they were not simply returned to their families and married off to someone else. Having been the consort of a god, even a temporary one, elevated their status immensely, but also made them untouchable. They were destined to live out the rest of their lives in respected, but lonely widowhood. They were living memorials to you, their lives forever defined by the year they spent with a man who was destined to die. Their sacrifice was not as final as yours, but it was a sacrifice nonetheless, a lifetime of normalcy given up for a year of divine duty. The historical debate around this divine marriage often centers on the agency of the women involved. Were they willing participants, honored to be chosen for this sacred role? Or were they, like you, pawns in a state-sponsored ritual, their own desires and futures subjugated to the needs of the empire? The Spanish sources are of little help, colored as they are by their own cultural biases. Most modern historians believe the truth is a complex mixture. The role likely carried immense honor and prestige for the women and their families, but it came at the undeniable cost of personal freedom. They, too, were beautiful sacrifices in their own way. You stand alone in the garden. The scent of the flowers seems cloying now, the beauty of the place a mockery. The sun is higher in the sky, its warmth holding no comfort. The world has been emptied of its most immediate and human connections. You have been stripped of everything but your divine costume and your cosmic purpose. The process of detachment is nearly complete. You are alone now, truly and utterly alone now, a solitary figure standing on the precipice between the world of the living and the realm of the gods. The next farewell will not be to a person, but to a part of your own soul. The music. After the departure of your wives, the priests led you from the silent garden to a small, unassuming shrine at the edge of the village. It is a simple, open-sided structure, It's altar bare except for a single stone block. The air is still and heavy. This is not a place for a grand public ceremony. This is a place for a quiet, personal act of renunciation. An attendant comes forward carrying a neat bundle wrapped in cotton cloth. He unwraps it and carefully lays out the clay flutes you have been playing for the past year. There are 4 of them. Each one represents a season, a direction, a period of your divine life. You know each one intimately, its weight in your hands, the precise pressure needed to produce a clear note, the unique timbre of its voice. These flutes have been your voice. They were the tools through which you expressed your joy, your sorrow, your very divinity. They have been your most constant companions, more so even than your wives. Now you must destroy them. The ritual is simple and stark. A priest gestures towards the first flute. You pick it up. It feels cool and familiar in your hands. You remember the long hours of practice, the frustration, the eventual mastery. You remember the haunting melodies echoing through your palace chambers, the way the sound seemed to hang in the perfumed air. You lift it, and with a sharp, decisive movement, you strike it against the stone altar. The sound of the clay shattering is shockingly loud in the profound quiet. It is a dry, brittle crack, a sound of finality. The pieces fall to the ground, a meaningless jumble of fired earth. The voice you cultivated so carefully has been silenced forever. You pick up the second flute. This one, you remember, was for the slow, mournful songs you learned in the final months. It was the instrument of your sorrow. As you hold it, you feel a strange sense of release. You are not just breaking an object, you are breaking the vessel of your sadness. You smash it against the stone, and its fragments join the others on the ground. Then the third, and finally the fourth. Each time, the act becomes a little easier, a little more detached. Crack, crack, crack. You are systematically dismantling your past. You are breaking the bridges that connect you to the year that has just passed. It is a powerful, symbolic act of shedding your skin. The man who was a musician, the god whose voice was the song of the flute, no longer exists. This ritual of breaking the flutes is a well-documented part of the Toxcatl ceremony. It is a poignant and deeply symbolic moment. In some ways, it's the quirky, tangible manifestation of a very abstract idea. How do you show that a god is giving up his earthly voice? You have him physically break the instrument of that voice. It's a piece of ritual theater that is both beautifully simple and psychologically devastating. Each crack of the clay is a countdown, a step closer to the ultimate silence. The precise symbolic meaning of the 4 flutes is, naturally, a subject of academic discussion. Some scholars link them to the 4 cardinal directions, which were central to Mesoamerican cosmology. By breaking them, you would be signaling the end of your journey through the earthly realm. Others suggest they represent the 4 stages of your year-long transformation, or perhaps 4 aspects of Tezcatlipoca's power. Without a definitive Aztec account, we are left to interpret the poetry of the act itself. The creator of the music becomes its destroyer, signaling that the song of his earthly life is over. When the last flint is broken, you stand before the altar, your hands empty. The ground at your feet is littered with the shards of your past. A profound silence descends, a silence made deeper and more absolute by the memory of the music you once created. You feel hollowed out, empty. You have said goodbye to your lovers. You have silenced your own voice. You are now a pure vessel, stripped of all personal attachments and attributes, ready for the final stage of your journey. The priests who have been watching from a respectful distance seem to nod in satisfaction. This stage of the preparation is complete. You have performed your duty with the required grace and solemnity. You did not hesitate. You did not weep. You have shown that you are ready. One of them steps forward and gently brushes a stray piece of clay dust from your arm. It is a gesture of final purification. He then turns and points towards the lake where a single, dark canoe is now visible, gliding silently towards the shore. Your ride has arrived. There is nowhere else to go but forward. The canoe that approaches is not the grand, canopied vessel that carried you on your tour of the lake towns. This is a small, starkly simple craft, carved from a single log and painted black. There is no throne, no ornamentation, Only a single paddler sits at the stern, his face impassive, his movements economical and precise. He is not a servant, he is a psychopomp, a ferryman for a soul about to cross a great boundary. You walk down to the water's edge. The pebbled shore crunches softly under your golden sandals. The air smells of lake water and damp earth. You have left the priests and the broken flutes behind you at the small shrine. For this next stage of the journey, you are to be utterly alone. No attendants, no wives, no divine entourage, just you and the silent ferryman. He brings the canoe smoothly to a halt in the shallows. He does not speak, but his meaning is clear. You step into the cool water of the lake, the hem of your ornate loincloth soaking through. The canoe rocks slightly as you climb and unsettle yourself in the center, facing forward, towards the distant silhouette of Tenochtitlan and its great pyramids, which rise like man-made mountains from the center of the lake. With a powerful silent push of his paddle, the ferryman sets the canoe in motion. The journey across the water is in a vinglum quiet. The only sound is the soft, rhythmic splash of the paddle as it dips into the lake, a sound like a slow, steady heartbeat. The sun is now high overhead, beating down with a fierce intensity. You feel the heat on your feathered headdress, on the golden ornaments that cover your body. Sweat trickles down your painted face. This silent journey across the water is a profound moment of transition. You have left the land of the living, the world of people and rituals, and have entered a liminal space. The lake itself becomes a boundary, a great, shimmering barrier between what has been and what is to come. As the small village on the shore recedes behind you, you feel as if you are leaving your entire life behind, not just the past year, but everything that came before it. Both are fading, dissolving into the shimmering heat haze that rises from the water's surface. A quirky and fascinating piece of Aztec cosmology is the belief that bodies of water, particularly caves with springs and the Great Lake itself, were considered portals to the underworld or Mictlan. So in a very real sense, your canoe trip is not just a physical journey across a lake, but a symbolic journey across a cosmic threshold. You are, in a way, already dead, or at least, you are in the process of dying, being ferried towards the sacred center, where your final transformation will occur. The exact route of this final canoe journey is something historians have tried to piece together from various codices and accounts. The destination was a specific, smaller temple located on the shore near one of the main causeways leading into the city. It was a place known as Toxcatl, the House of Darts, a symbolic starting point for your final walk. The debate often revolves around the pacing and atmosphere of this part of the ritual. Was it a somber, silent journey as described in some sources? Or was it accompanied by distant music or chanting from the city, a building sense of anticipation? Based on the psychological trajectory of the ritual, a profound and isolating silence seems the more likely and more powerful choice. You do not look back. You keep your gaze fixed on the approaching city. Tenochtitlan, which has been your home for a year, now looks like a foreign and menacing landscape. The Temple Omer, the great temple with its twin shrines at the summit, dominates the skyline. You know with a certainty that is beyond fear that this is your destination. That is where the story ends. The journey feels both infinitely long and tragically short. Here is only the sun, the water, and the rhythmic splash of the paddle. You are suspended between two worlds, a gilded and feathered ghost gliding over the surface of the water. Your mind, emptied by the rituals of farewell, feels strangely calm, strangely glad, strangely blank. There is nothing left to think about, nothing left to feel. You are no longer a person. You are an offering, simple and ready. As the canoe finally scrapes against the shore on the outskirts of the great city, the ferryman stops paddling. He has brought you as far as he can. He gestures for you to disembark. You step out of the canoe and onto the solid ground of the causeway. The ferryman does not wait. With another silent push, he turns the black canoe around and begins to paddle back into the shimmering emptiness of the lake, leaving you standing alone at the beginning of the final path. You now stand at the head of a wide, stone causeway. This is one of the great engineered arteries of the city, a broad, raised road built across the lake connecting the island capital to the mainland. But the section where you have been left is strangely, uneventful, empty. There are no merchants with their wares, no travelers, no chattering crowds. The entire area has been cleared. For this final walk, there is to be no audience. Not yet. This is the most profound moment of solitude in your entire year-long journey. When you were paraded through the city, you were the center of a spectacle, surrounded by thousands. In the palace, you were constantly attended by servants and wives. Even in the canoe, the silent ferryman was a presence. Now there is no one. You are completely and utterly alone, a single, glittering figure under the vast, indifferent sky. You must walk. The priests have instructed you on this final part of the ritual. You must proceed alone down this causeway towards the ceremonial heart of the city, towards the great temple that looms in the distance. Every step you take is a symbolic act. You are no longer being carried. You are walking towards your fate under your own power. It is the final, terrible illusion of agency. You take the first step. The golden sandals, so ill-suited for walking, clank softly on the stone pavement. The sound is small and lonely in the great silence. The weight of your costume, which you have borne for a year, feels heavier than ever before. Each step is an effort. The sun beats down, and the quetzal feathers of your headdress offer little protection. You can feel the sweat beading on your painted skin. As you walk, you look at the city around you. From this perspective, on the ground, Tenochtitlan feels immense, a labyrinth of canals, bridges, and buildings. You see the details you missed from your high balcony, the intricate carvings on a temple wall, the bright flowers growing in a pot on a commoner's rooftop, a child's forgotten toy lying by the water's edge. It is a city teeming with life, a life from which you are now completely divorced, unseen and unheard. This solitary walk is a curious and poignant part of the ceremony. In a culture that placed such a high value on community and public ritual, this moment of extreme isolation is striking. It is perhaps the Aztec equivalent of a final confession or a private prayer. It is a time for you to confront your own mortality, stripped of all the distractions and honors that have surrounded you. You are not a god now, you are just a man, walking a very long, very lonely road. A quirky, and somewhat debated, detail concerns what you were walking on. The causeways were marvels of engineering, but they weren't necessarily smooth, uniform surfaces. Historical and archaeological evidence suggests they were often made of packed earth, stone, and rubble, and could be uneven. Furthermore, they were punctuated by bridges, some of which could be removed to defend the city. So your final walk might not have been on a perfect, polished avenue, but on a more rustic, uneven path, requiring a conscious effort to keep your footing, especially in your awkward ceremonial sandals. The academic debate surrounding this part of the ritual is intense. Why the solitude? Some scholars suggest it was a period of ritual purification, a time for you to mentally prepare for the final public act. By walking alone, you are shedding the last vestiges of your human identity, leaving them behind on the long road. Others propose a more symbolic interpretation. You are now really embodying Tezcatlipoca in his aspect as a lone, wandering god, a capricious and unpredictable force moving through the world. You are no longer the pampered deity of the palace, you are the god in his wild, untamed form on his way to fulfill a cosmic destiny. You walk for what feels like miles. The silence is broken only by the clank of your jewelry and the sound of your own breathing. The great temple, your destination, grows steadily larger, its steep, prince stairway seeming to ascend into the sky itself. As you draw closer to the ceremonial precinct, the silence begins to change. It is no longer an empty silence. It is a full silence, the kind that precedes a storm. You begin to feel, more than hear, the presence of a vast number of people. They are waiting for you. The causeway ends, and you find yourself at the edge of the great plaza that surrounds the Templo Mayor. Here your solitude ends abruptly and spectacularly. You stop, and for a moment you are simply a lone figure standing at the threshold of the sacred. The long, quiet walk is over. The roar is about to begin. You step from the empty causeway into the vast, open space of the sacred precinct, and the world erupts. The silence you have known for the past hour is shattered by a sound so immense, so overwhelming, it feels like a physical force. It is the sound of an entire city, perhaps an entire civilization, focused on a single point. The great plaza is packed with a dense, swaying sea of humanity. Tens of thousands of people, from the highest nobles in their shimmering feather cloaks to the humblest commoners in simple white cotton, are gathered here. They are not a riotous mob. They are a congregation, a perfectly ordered assembly. Warriors in their jaguar and eagle costumes stand in disciplined ranks. Priests in their black robes form a procession. The air is thick with the scent of their bodies, the fragrance of the flower garlands they wear, and the dense, billowing clouds of copal incense that rise from hundreds of swinging censers. This is the roar of the pyramid. It is not a roar of anger, but of ecstatic, terrifying devotion. It is a blend of sounds, the deep, resonant boom of the great hu-hu-tel drums, beaten with a slow, hypnotic rhythm that mimics a giant's heartbeat, the high, mournful wail of conch-shell trumpets, the shrill blast of bone flutes, and the collective, rhythmic chanting of thousands of voices, a low, droning hum that seems to make the very stones beneath your feet vibrate. You are no longer a solitary figure. You are the focal point of an immense collective energy. As you begin to walk slowly towards the base of the great temple, the Temple Mayor, a pathway clears before you. The crowd parts, not out of a deep, instinctual reverence. They fall to their knees as you approach, their faces pressed to the stone ground. They dare not look at you. They can only listen to the clank of your golden sandals, the rustle of your quetzal feathers, the sound of their god walking the earth one last time. The Temple Omea looms before you, a man-made mountain of stone. It is a stepped pyramid, painted in brilliant red and white, its twin staircases rising steeply to the two temples at its summit, one dedicated to Tezcatlipoca, the god of war and the sun, and the other to Talaka, the god of rain and water. Your destination is the shrine on the left, the one belonging to Tezcatlipoca's eternal rival and counterpart, your patron Tezcatlipoca. The sensory overload is immense. The booming drums, the hypnotic chanting, the thick, sweet smoke of the incense that stings your eyes and throat, the overwhelming presence of the crowd. It all combines to create a powerful, disorienting effect. It is designed to overwhelm the senses, to break down the boundaries of the self, to induce a state of religious ecstasy or terror. Your year of quiet contemplation and gentle conditioning has led to this, a final, explosive confrontation with the raw, untamed power of collective belief. A quirky detail that is often overlooked in depictions of this scene is the soundscape itself. We think of drums and chanting, but the Aztecs also used a variety of rattles and rasps. Imagine thousands of people shaking ayatli, rattles made from gourds filled with seeds or pebbles, creating a sound like a great, hissing serpent, a sound of rain, a sound of rain, a sound of cosmic chaos. This complex layering of sound was not just noise. It was a carefully composed symphony of the sacred, each instrument and rhythm holding a specific symbolic meaning. You are walking through the heart of a terrifying, beautiful orchestra. The academic debate about the atmosphere of these events is ongoing. Were they joyous festivals, like a massive, city-wide religious celebration, or were they somber, terrifying affairs, filled with a sense of dread and awe? The truth is that they were likely both, simultaneously. For the Aztec people, this was a moment of profound communion with the divine, a necessary and ultimately life-affirming act. It was a celebration of cosmic renewal. For you, it is difficult to imagine it as anything other than the prologue to a nightmare. As you reach the base of the pyramid, a group of high priests, their faces painted, their long hair matted with blood from previous auto-sacrifices, emerges to greet you. They do not speak. They simply stand, their presence a final, silent confirmation of what is to come. They turn and begin to ascend the pyramid, their black robes flowing behind them. You stand for a moment at the bottom of the great staircase. The roar of the crowd seems to soften, replaced by the thundering beat of your own heart. You look up the impossibly steep flight of stairs. It is a stairway to the heavens, a bridge between the world of men and the realm of the gods. And you must climb it. Alone, the final ascent is about to begin. You stand at the bottom of the world. Before you, the great staircase of the Temple Omea rises like a stone cliff face. The steps are tall and steep, designed not for easy passage but for a slow, arduous, and public ascent. There are, by some counts, 114 of them. Each one is a lifetime. Each one is a step further from the earth and closer to the sun. The priests are already climbing, their dark forms moving steadily upwards. They do not look back. The roar of the crowd has become a single, sustained note, a human drone that vibrates in your bones. It is the backdrop to the most profound silence you have ever known, the silence of your own mind. There are no more thoughts of the past. There was only this, the stone, the first step. You lift your foot. The golden sandal feels impossibly heavy, a small anchor tying you to the world you are about to leave. You place it on the first step. The stone is warm from the sun. You shift your weight, your other foot leaving the plaza floor, the ground level of humanity. You are now officially on the pyramid. You have begun your ascent. The climbing is difficult. The steps are so steep that you must lean forward, almost crawling. Your heavy costume, a source of honor and burden for a year, is now a direct impediment. A linen weight pulling you backwards. The Grand Quetzal headdress threatens to overbalance you with every gust of wind. The turquoise collar chafes your neck. The golden armbands dig into your skin. This is not a graceful divine procession. It is a struggle. A final physical test. With each step you take, you are supposed to perform one final act of renunciation, mirroring the breaking of the flutes. Some historical accounts suggest that you would break a flute on each step, but this seems practically and symbolically unlikely. More accepted interpretations, like those based on the Florentine Codex, suggest a different, more poignant ritual. As you ascend, you are to strip yourself of your divine finery. On one of the lower steps you pause. You reach up and untie the golden bands from your ankles. You let them fall. They clatter onto the stone steps below, a small, metallic sound lost in the vast hum of the crowd. A few steps later, you do the same with the bracelets on your wrists. Then the heavy, scaled armbands. You are slowly, deliberately, divesting yourself of the wealth and status you have worn for a year. You are shedding the god, piece by heavy piece. This act is a powerful piece of theater for the thousands watching below. They see you, their glorious, glittering god, slowly dismantling himself. They see the symbols of his earthly power being discarded, cast aside as he climbs towards the spiritual realm, where such things have no value. It is a public sermon, delivered not with words, but with the clatter of falling gold. A quirky and practical detail to consider is the sheer physical exertion involved. Climbing 114 steep steps in the high-altitude air of Tenochtitlan, over 7,000 feet above sea level, would be a serious cardiovascular challenge for anyone, let alone someone weighed down by ornaments and in a state of extreme psychological stress. This was not a gentle walk up a staircase. It was a final, grueling athletic event, a physical ordeal designed to leave you exhausted and breathless at the summit, your body pushed to its absolute limit. The academic debate here focuses on the precise nature of this final disrobing. Was it a complete stripping away of all finery, leaving you as you were when you were first captured? Or did you retain certain key elements of the costume, the facial paint, the symbolic loincloth to maintain your divine identity until the very end? The sources are ambiguous. Most scholars favor a partial disrobing, a removal of the heaviest, most worldly items, while retaining the core symbols of Tezcatlipoca. The goal was not to reveal the man, but to transform the god from his earthly, material form to a purer, more essential spiritual state. You continue to climb, step after step. The world below shrinks, the sea of people becoming a pattern mosaic, their individual faces lost in the whole. The sounds of the city, the canoes on the canals, the cries from the market, fade away, replaced by the rush of the wind and the pounding of blood in your ears. You are halfway up now. You pause to catch your breath, your hands on your knees. You look out, not down at the crowd, but out at the horizon. You can see the entire Valley of Mexico spread before you, the shimmering lake, the green china palms, the distant purple mountains, the snow-capped volcanoes. It is the last time you will see the world from this perspective, as a living man standing between the earth and the sky. It is beautiful. You leave behind the turquoise collar, the last and heaviest of your burdens. The relief on your shoulders is immediate and profound. You feel lighter, freer. You're almost there. Only a few more steps to go. The summit and the waiting priests are just above you. The higher you climb, the more the world transforms. The overwhelming, personal roar of the crowd recedes, softening into a vast, impersonal hum, like the sound of a distant ocean. The individual faces, the swaying bodies, the ranks of warriors, they all merge and flatten into a breathtaking, living map. The great city of Tenochtitlan, your gilded cage for a year, unfolds beneath you in all its impossible glory. From this high perspective, you see not a city of streets, but a city of water. The canals are arteries of shimmering light, crisscrossing the island in a perfect, geometric grid. You can trace the paths of the thousands of tiny canoes, their movements like the slow, deliberate dance of water insects. The china palms, the floating gardens, form a patchwork of intense, vibrant green against the deep blue of the lake. You see the other, smaller pyramids and temples scattered across the city, their painted tops gleaming in the sun, all of them now below you. You are higher than all the other gods of this city. The causeways, including the one you just walked, stretch out like great stone arms anchoring the island to the mainland. The scale of the engineering is staggering. You are looking at one of the greatest, most complex urban environments on the planet, a masterpiece of human ingenuity and will, built in defiance of its watery landscape. This ascent provides a dramatic shift in psychological perspective. Down in the plaza, you were an object, a focal point for the intense, claustrophobic adoration of the crowd. Here, halfway to the sky, you are detached, removed. The world of human concerns, of noise and emotion, is literally beneath you. You are in a space of profound, windy solitude. It's a god's eye view, and for a fleeting moment, perhaps you understand the divine indifference you have been trained to perform. When you look down upon humanity from such a height, it is hard not to see them as a single, collective organism, their individual lives and struggles, lost in the grand, beautiful pattern. A quirky geographical feature you would be able to see with perfect clarity from this height is the division of the lake itself. A massive dike, the Dike of Tezcatlipoca, stretched for miles across Lake Toxcatl. It was built to separate the brackish, salty waters of the eastern part of the lake from the freshwater springs that fed the western side, where Tenochtitlan was located. This protected the city from floods and kept the water for the china palms fresh. You would see this incredible feat of hydraulic engineering as a sharp line dividing the waters, a testament to the Aztec ability to literally move mountains, or in this case, lakes, to build their world. The debate among historians and archaeologists about this view is one of detail and reconstruction. Using Spanish accounts, surviving codices, and modern archaeological findings, they have created detailed maps of what Tenochtitlan likely looked like. However, the exact coloration of the buildings, the precise layout of certain temple precincts, the sounds and smells that would have risen to your high perch, these are all subjects of ongoing, imaginative reconstruction. Every scholar who writes about this moment is, in a way, trying to climb the pyramid with you, to see what you saw, and to piece together the magnificent, lost puzzle of the city from your final, fleeting vantage point. You continue your climb, the world shrinking further with each step. The air grows thinner, cooler. You can feel the wind tugging at your hair and the simple loincloth you now wear. You are stripped of your finery, exposed and elemental. The sun feels closer, hotter, more intense. You are entering its domain. You glance back just once more, not at the crowd but at the horizon, at the two great volcanoes, Popocatépetl and Tezcatlipoca, that stand guard over the valley. In the myths of the people below, those volcanoes were once a prince and a princess, lovers turned to stone by a tragic fate. They are eternal, silent witnesses to the brief, fleeting dramas of the humans who live in their shadow. They were here long before you, and they will be here long after you are gone. Your story, your entire year of being a god, feels incredibly small in the face of that vast, geological time. It is a single, brilliant spark in a great, indifferent darkness. The perspective is both terrifying and, in a strange way, liberating. You'll fear your identity, Your very life, it all seems to dissolve in the immense scale of the landscape and the sky. You turn your back on the world for the last time. You have only a few steps left. The summit is just ahead. The platform, the temple, the priests, the sky. You take the final step and pull yourself onto the summit. The world changes one last time. After the arduous vertical climb, you are now on a wide, flat, horizontal platform. The sky, which was a destination, is now all around you, a vast, brilliant blue dome that seems close enough to touch. The wind is stronger up here, a constant, rushing presence that whispers past your ears and cools the sweat on your skin. The distant hum of the crowd is a faint, almost imperceptible drone. You have arrived at the top of the world, a sacred island in the sky. The platform is not empty. Directly in front of you is the shrine dedicated to Tezcatlipoca, a small house-like temple, its entrance shrouded in darkness. The air at the summit is thick with a new scent, one that overwhelms all others. It is the smell of copal, the sacred tree resin that has been a constant background note to your year. But here, it is not a gentle perfume. It is a thick, acrid, and intoxicating smoke that billows from large bronze braziers placed around the platform. The smoke is so dense it creates a hazy, dreamlike atmosphere, blurring the edges of the sky and the distant mountains. It stings your eyes and makes your head feel light. The high priests are waiting for you, 5 of them. They are no longer the serene, poetic figures you have known, their eyes intense. They are not here to offer comfort or explanation. They are here to perform a sacred, cosmic duty. Their black robes are stained and stiffened with the blood of countless previous offerings. This is their workshop, their holy of holies. In the center of the platform, positioned before the dark entrance to the shrine, is a single block of stone. It is a volcanic rock, a Tezcatl, carved with symbols and stained dark from years of use. It is convex, designed to arch the back of the person laid upon it. This is the sacrificial stone. It is small, unassuming, and the most terrifying object you have ever seen. The atmosphere at the summit is a carefully curated sensory experience, designed to disorient and overwhelm. The sudden shift from a difficult climb to a flat surface, the vast open exposure to the sky, the whipping wind, and most importantly, the thick psychopative smoke of the copal, it is all intended to induce an altered state of consciousness. You are meant to arrive at this final moment in a state of detached, dreamlike trance. The burning of copal incense was a universal practice in Mesoamerican rituals, but the sheer quantity burned at the Templo Mayor was astounding. Quirky, and rather pungent detail from Spanish accounts is that the conquistadors were often overwhelmed by the smell of the sacred precinct. It wasn't just copal, it was a complex mixture of burnt offerings, including rubber, paper, and various plants, combined with the ever-present metallic scent of blood. Accustomed to the gentle fragrance of frankincense in their cathedrals, found the Aztec sacred smell to be powerful, cloying, and deeply alien. For the Aztecs, however, this was the very breath of the gods, the smell of holiness itself. The academic debate surrounding the state of mind of the sacrificial victim at this point is, of course, central to understanding the entire ritual. Did the incense contain hallucinogenic properties? While copal itself is not strongly psychoactive, it was often burned with other substances, such as sage or perhaps even datura, which could have had a significant effect on your mental state. Was this a willing sacrifice, a moment of ecstatic union with the divine, as the Aztec theology suggested, or was it a moment of pure, unmitigated terror, as our modern sensibilities would assume? The truth is likely a complex cocktail of both, a state of mind so far removed from ordinary experience that we lack the vocabulary to describe it. A sublime terror, a sacred horror. The priests do not rush. Time seems to slow down, to stretch and warp in the thick, smoky air. They move around you with a calm, practiced deliberation. 2 of them take your arms. Their grip is not violent, but it is firm, unyielding. 2 others take your legs. They are strong, their bodies hardened by years of ritual fasting and physical exertion. You do not resist. You have been conditioned for this moment for a year. The music, the food, the honors, the slow stripping away of your identity. It has all led to this point of passive surrender. To struggle now would be like a river trying to flow back up a mountain. It is simply not possible. They guide you towards the stone. The sun is directly overhead, a blinding white disk in the hazy blue sky. This is the moment of noon, the apex of the sun's journey. Your own journey is about to reach its symmetrical climax. The priests position you before the altar, your back to the stone. The world narrows to a few simple sensations: the rough texture of the stone against your bare back, the firm grip of the priests on your limbs, the suffocating sweetness of the copal smoke, and the immense silent, beautiful sky waiting above you. They lay you back upon the stone. The convex curve of the Tezcatlipoca fits perfectly into the small of your back, arching your chest upwards towards the sky. Your limbs are stretched, held firmly by the priests at your sides. You are completely immobilized, your body presented as an open offering. Your entire world, once a palace of intricate details, has now been reduced to a single stark reality. Your entire field of vision is filled with the vast, empty, beautiful sky. It is a blue you have never truly seen before. Up here, above the haze and smoke of the city, the sky is a deep, pure, and infinite ocean of color. A few wisps of white cloud drift slowly across your vision, serene and unhurried. You see a hawk circling on a thermal high above, a tiny, dark speck of life in the immense emptiness. The sun is a blinding orb, a source of incredible heat and light that you can feel on your exposed skin. You are closer to the sun than you have ever been. In this moment, all the sounds of the world below seem to fade into an absolute and profound silence. The distant hum of the crowd, the whisper of the wind, it all disappears. There is only the sound of your own breathing, a ragged rhythm against the vast, cosmic stillness. Your heart beats a frantic, powerful drum against your ribs, a final, desperate affirmation of your own life. This is the culmination of the Aztec cosmic worldview. You are, at this moment, the nexus point between the earthly and the divine. Your body is the conduit, the bridge. The high priest believed that the sun, Tezcatlipoca, was a warrior, fighting a constant battle against the forces of darkness to make its journey across the sky each day. That battle required energy, and the most potent source of that energy, the highest form, was the human heart. It is a transfer of energy, a necessary act of cosmic refueling. You are about to become a star, a tiny particle of light in the great, ongoing celestial battle. A strange and often misunderstood detail about this final moment is the role of the obsidian knife. The sacrificial knife, or Tezcatl, was not just a tool. It was a sacred object, often depicted in codices with a life of its own, with eyes and teeth. It was believed to have its own divine essence. The black volcanic glass it was made from was called its etli, a word associated with coolness, hardness, and the night. The knife itself was a piece of the underworld, a sliver of sacred darkness, being used to perform a holy act in the full light of the sun. It represented the perfect union of opposites, the cosmic balance of life and death, light and dark, all focused into a single, razor-sharp point. The academic debate about the victim's experience at this precise moment is, of course, the most intense of all. Drawing from the limited and often biased Spanish sources, and from the stark, impersonal depictions in Aztec art, historians try to reconstruct the final seconds. Did you scream? Did you pray? Did you achieve a state of transcendent calm, a final, ecstatic acceptance of your fate, as the theology promised? The Florentine Codex, one of our most detailed sources, describes the victim as being stretched out, his chest quite taut. It is a clinical, detached description that gives no hint of the internal experience. We are left to gaze at that silent, painted image and wonder. You stare up at the sky. The blue is so deep you feel you could fall into it forever. The clouds drift with an agonizing slowness. Every detail is etched into your consciousness with a supernatural clarity. The shape of a particular cloud, the precise shade of blue near the horizon, the way the sunlight warms your skin. This is the world. This beautiful, terrible, precious world, and you are still in it for a few seconds more. The high priest moves into your field of vision, his form a dark silhouette against the blinding sun. He raises his hand. In it he holds the Tezcatlipoca. The obsidian blade is a sliver of midnight, a piece of captured darkness that glints in the fierce sunlight. It is the last thing you will ever see. The sky, the sun, the hawk, the clouds, they all disappear, eclipsed by this small, dark, and impossibly sharp piece of the earth. Your year-long journey from man to God is over. Now begins the instant-long journey from God back to pure, sacred energy. The dark silhouette of the high priest fills your vision, blocking out the sun. The obsidian knife in his hand is not just a tool, it is a focal point, the physical manifestation of a cosmic principle. In this final, stretched-out moment, time seems to dissolve. The year of luxury, the lonely walk, the arduous climb, it all contracts into this single, sharp point of existence. There is no past, no future. There is only the priest, the stone, and the sky. He holds another object in his other hand, something you hadn't noticed before. It is a polished obsidian mirror, the very same smoking mirror that first showed you your divine face a year ago. He doesn't hold it up for you to see yourself. Instead, he angles it perfectly, catching the brilliant, overhead sun and reflecting its light not into your eyes, but onto the blade of the knife. For a brief, dazzling instant, the black obsidian seems to come alive with a starburst of pure, white light. It is a moment of impossible beauty and terror, the union of the darkest stone and the brightest star. This is the final act of the cosmic drama. The priest is not just a man holding a knife. He is a conduit for the power of the sun. He is focusing the divine energy of the heavens into the tool of sacrifice. The mirror, Tezcatlipoca's own symbol, is used to bless the instrument of your demise. It is a perfect, terrible, closed loop of symbolism. The god of the smoking mirror sanctions your end, using the power of the sun god to carry it out. He leans over you. The air grows still. The world holds its breath one last time. He speaks not to you, but to the cosmos. He recites the final, sacred words, dedicating this act, this life, this precious water, to the nourishment of the gods and the continuation of the universe. His voice is a low, resonant chant, the words ancient and powerful. You do not understand them, but you feel their weight, their gravity. And then he shows you one last thing. He lowers the mirror, tilting it so that now, for the first time, you can see a reflection. But from this angle, lying on your back, you do not see your own face. You see only the sky. Reflected in the dark, smoky surface of the obsidian is the vast, but is a universe in a stone. He is showing you where you are going. Not to a dark underworld, but back into the light, into the heart of the sun, into the fabric of the cosmos itself. It is the priest's final, terrible kindness, a roadmap for your soul. This final, poetic gesture, the reflection of the sky, is of course an imaginative reconstruction, but it is rooted in the deep symbolism of the objects involved. The Aztecs were masters of metaphor, and every part of this ritual was laden with layers of meaning. The mirror as a portal, the knife as a sacred force, your body as a conduit. It was a complex and sophisticated theological performance. A final quirky detail lies in what happened immediately after. Your body was not simply discarded. In a continuation of the sacred ritual, it would be treated with a mixture of reverence and practicality. The moment was not an end, but a transformation of matter. This part of the story, however, becomes less gentle, and for tonight, we shall leave it here, at this final, peaceful, and transcendent image. The academic world will forever be locked in a debate about the true nature of this act. Was it a barbaric ritual of a bloodthirsty empire, or a deeply spiritual act of cosmic reciprocity, seen by its practitioners as essential for the survival of the world? It was most likely, and most uncomfortably, both at the same time, it was a system of belief that was as beautiful as it was brutal, as sophisticated as it was terrifying. But for you, the debates of future scholars mean nothing. You are beyond all that now. Your story, your brief, glorious, and terrible year as a god, it all dissolves. The reflection in the obsidian mirror wavers, the captured sun pulsing like a heartbeat. You feel a strange sense of peace, a profound letting go. You are no longer a man, no longer a god. You are just a point of consciousness, a single spark, about to merge with the endless, beautiful, and indifferent light of the stars. And so, the story that we have walked through together finds its quiet and gentle end. The drums on the Great Pyramid have faded to a distant echo, a memory. And now, there is only a profound and peaceful silence. The bright, tropical sun has melted away, leaving only the soft and comfortable darkness of your own room. The journey is complete. You can let the story go now. Let it drift away like a cloud in that vast, blue sky. There is nothing left to think about. Your only task now is to feel the gentle weight of your own body, the soft support of the surface beneath you. You can notice the gentle, easy rhythm of your own breath, rising and falling, in and out, like a slow, peaceful tide. Each breath can carry you a little deeper, a little further into comfort, into rest. The story was just a path, a gentle, winding path to lead you to this quiet place, this peaceful clearing at the edge of sleep. You have arrived. You are safe. You are comfortable, and you can simply let go. Our journey together tonight ends here, in this quiet place. Should you need another tale to accompany you further into rest, my library of stories is always open for you. May your dreams be kind. Good night.